We do have some time for questions, and there are a couple of roving mics. Can I just ask that if you wish to ask a question, you put up your hand, give your name and title or designation, and if you could please stick to the topic to hand, either terrorism.
I beg pardon if I have taken more time, but you can appreciate that how important these aspects are. I have taken only 2-3 aspects, and I have left dozens of aspects just up to you, so that you may read when the whole Fatwa translation comes up.
Yeah, could you make your questions brief and to the topic, and refrain from making comments? Gentleman at the back there in the grey suit.
Dr. Qadri, thank you very much indeed. I think all of us here will be very grateful to you for your very clear exposition and your very strong views about suicide bombing and terrorism.
Thank you.
And that is very, very important. But we have a problem in this country with those whose view of Islam, while they themselves speak strongly against terrorism and suicide bombing, have a view of Islam and an approach to Islam that is fundamentalist, narrow, extremist, and very militant. And the outworkings of that Islam is very antisocial and hostile. We think of those, for instance, that come with Wahhabi backgrounds, those with Deobandi background, and so on. And there are major mosques in this country. I'd name, for instance, one, the East London Mosque, where this sort of Islam is very rife. They will speak strongly against suicide bombings and terrorism, but nonetheless they'll propagate a very antisocial form of Islam. Do you have anything to add to or say about that form from your own perspective?
Thank you very much for this question. I would just like to say that I am not very well aware of the local institutions of England, various mosques and various people and sects who they are working in which way. I have given the whole verdict in its general, comprehensive and universal form. It can be applicable anywhere. I won't prefer to speak in a specific terms of institutions and mosques and various sects. The Islamic stance is very clear. Anybody who promotes this stance of Islam, his viewpoint is Islamic. Any person, may he belong to any sect or any mosque or any center or institution, I don't know, who promotes the militant and violent and extremistic viewpoint about Islam, please keep in your mind, he is not promoting and he is not presenting Islam. This is his own extremistic and terroristic agenda. Please don't bracket terrorism with Islam. Now the case of Islam is very clear. I will have a very sympathetic appeal and a request that if you please detach the word Islamic or Islam from terrorism, it will help in eliminating or demoralizing the terrorist people, because the terrorists are neither Islamic nor Jewish nor Christian. Terrorists have no religion. Unfortunately, they were born in Muslim families, but they have been misguided and detracked. So terrorism should remain terrorism. And condemn, you say that Islam condemns terrorism. Islam says that terrorism is an act of kufr. It is outside the ambit of Islam. It is totally condemnable act. And if you totally disconnect the word Islam or Islamic from the terrorism and then condemn, I hope overwhelming majority of the Muslim Ummah would join their voices with your voice, as I have stated. So there is no Islamic terrorism. There is no Muslim terrorist. Whoever is terrorist, he is a non-Muslim. Whoever commits act of terrorism, he is committing an un-Islamic act, no link with Islam. So those who promote this kind of view, they may have their own political agenda. They have been instigated, they have been prepared for that particular purpose. You have to deal these kind of people with a different way. But I would say it is clear according to Quran and Sunnah, these kind of people having this terroristic or militant agenda has no link with Islamic teachings.
Thank you. There was a lady at the back there. Do you still want to ask your question? No, okay. Gentleman just over there.
Thank you. My name is Dominic Kashani. I'm from the BBC. Can I ask about a specific situation? There are some scholars who say that the situation between Israel and the Palestinians is an exceptional one, and that the rules you talk about would not necessarily apply. Can you tell me what you would say to a young Palestinian who believes that the only course of action he has open to him is to turn to the suicide bomb?
Thank you very much. I would like to say all of my brothers in Islam and my sons, because of age, whether they belong to Palestine, they belong to Pakistan, they belong to Somalia, they belong to any part of Islamic world. Terrorism is terrorism. We have to create a difference between warfare and terrorism. Terrorism means to kill civilians, those who are not directly fighting against you in a battlefield. When there is a matter of clear-cut warfare, so everybody kills one another. Everybody has a right in the warfare. But killing the people, maybe in the pretext of avenge, whom you consider the certain government or certain people or certain power has committed any cruelty or aggression or any occupation, so you are avenging. And what you are doing through the act of terrorism or suicide bombing, when you commit suicide bombing, the children, they are being killed. The women are being killed. Maybe the Jewish people are doing the same, or the Muslim Palestinian are doing. Either the Pakistani people are doing, or any other people belonging to any community, irrespective. No, when you are doing suicide bombing, so see, Holy Prophet said, even during warfare, in the battlefield, when you are fighting with your enemy, you can't kill. This is a categorical declaration by Holy Prophet and all four orthodox caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman and Ali. You cannot kill, even in the battlefield, the women. You can't kill children. You can't kill old men. You can't kill the priests. You can't kill the people of church. You can't kill the traders. You can't kill the farmers. You can't kill the diplomats. You can't hold them custody. You can't kill the ambassadors. You can't burn the trees. You can't destruct the population. You can't kill the human beings. Those who are non-combatant, not fighting with you, they are busy in their trade, sitting in their houses, they are sleeping, they are going in the train and bus in London in 7/7, or they are working in the Twin Towers in their offices, and 9/11. They are busy, they are working in their embassies. So these are people, when you commit suicide bombings, so all these suicide, who are the targets? Targets are the human beings. So irrespective of anything, unexceptionally act of terrorism is terrorism. It cannot be allowed in any pretext.
Thank you very much for your speech and your fatwa. I agree totally with you about Khawarij opinion, and the Khawarij of today are more extreme than the Khawarij of yesterday. But I'm a little bit puzzled of the fatwa of making the terrorist kafir. Because when we talk about Hadd al-Hiraba, it's very clear in the Holy Quran that you cut their hands and legs from behind and you throw them outside the city. Also, I'm a little bit puzzled of the non-dialogue system. While the fifth Caliph, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, sat down the Khawarij, 25,000 of them, and he managed through dialogue to convert 20,000 at least of them to the mainstream. It is the dialogue which we still have to deal with.
Yes.
The fatwa of kafir, you mentioned two imams, which I know of Imam al-Ash'ari. Maybe because my lack of knowledge, I don't know how Imam al-Maturidi, and I wish that you could have mentioned the opinion of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal regarding the kufr.
Yes.
The kufr. You see, you mentioned Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others at the end regarding that the terrorists are Khawarij and the Khawarij are terrorists.
Thank you, brother.
Can I finish, please?
You've asked quite a few questions.
No, can I finish, please? Because I'm talking about a serious issue.
No, I understand, but I think there are other people who want to ask questions.
Thank you. Okay. And the last hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the last sermon, لا ترتدوا بعد كفارا يضرب بعضكم رقاب بعض. It is the act of kufr which lead the Muslim the non-Muslim to kill one another. not actually the killing which lead them to become kuffar. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you very much. So when we talk of dialogue to bringing them to the right track, it means only the youngsters who have been brainwashed and committing the acts of terrorism and human killing, they are not for dialogue. For dialogue are the main people who are behind them, those who deserve to be discussed. Definitely the room of dialogue is open for them. And the government should try to bring them on right path. That's why this is a dialogue. The fatwa launching ceremony itself is a dialogue. That's to give them the arguments, give them the evidence so that this is the best option to bring them to right path. This is one aspect. We are in favor. We are talking unless, but for the dialogue, the condition is if they are still committing the acts of terrorism, dialogue means they should set down their arms and they should be peaceful and get ready for dialogue. Then dialogue is always welcomed. One thing. Reference, as far as the Imam, I have quoted, 17 Aimma, including Imam Bukhari, up to Allama Ibn Taymiyyah. Including Allama Ibn Taymiyyah is the highest authority Imam of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal mazhabs, and he declares this act kufr. He takes from Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, so Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal has been quoted. Another references which you have asked, I have quoted in my 4th chapter on the concept of rebellion. Either terrorists are declared the Kharijite terrorist or they are declared rebels, al-Bughat or al-Khawarij or al-Bughat, and that Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal has declared on all these people, they agree on their killing. They never supported them. There's fatwa of Imam Abu Hanifa. I have given fatwa Imam Malik, fatwa Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Imam Sufyan Sawri, Imam Mawardi, Imam Sarakhsi, Imam Kasani, Marghinani, Imam Ibn Qudama about kufr, Imam Nawawi, and Imam Ibrahim bin Mufli al-Hanbali, and those. And finally, the latest Salafi ulama, Shaykh Abdul Aziz bin Bagh, Allama Nasiruddin Albani, and Ibn al-Fawzan. They declared that these today's terrorists are the Khawarij. So there are two different views. One declared them kafir, I have explained. Majority, the Kharijite terrorist. Other view is that they don't declare them kafir, but they declare that their termination and killing is wajib. It is compulsory on the Muslim governments to terminate them. So no one, not a single scholar in the classical period of Islam is in favor of saving them or protecting them. Everyone is, consensus opinion is that you have to terminate them. Then majority says that this act is kufr, and minority of Imam says this is rebellion. They deserve the punishment of termination instead of kufr, and I have quoted now the second authorities too. Thank you very much.
We have time for one more question, or perhaps two at most. The gentleman over there had his hand up earlier.
Jazakallah, Imam Qadri. One question that I have is regarding with the Somali issue. And one of the problems in Somalia is that the youngsters out there are made to believe that whatever they're doing, it is for the greater cause to bring the country into Islamic rule. And I listened very well your lecture, but when they are asked why you're killing, for example, young people who are graduating from a faculty of medicine, they're saying all these things are just for the sacrifice to get the country Islamic rule. And they bloom themselves out and they send young kids into that. What do you want to say to the young Somalis who might be lured to this situation?
This is very relevant and significant question. Thank you for that. I would say categorically that even if a certain Muslim government and the rulers are not practicing Islam, they are Muslims, they are not practicing Islam perfectly, they are not enforcing the Islamic laws and commandments perfectly, even they are sinful. Hundreds of classical authorities of Islam, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali, even the Ja'fari and Salafi, all sects in the classical era of Islam, they agree on the fact, according to the Holy Prophet's tradition, which comes in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, the chapter of Imara. Holy Prophet ﷺ said that a time will come that there would be very bad Muslim rulers having their governments on Muslim society is very bad, and worse rulers will come. And so much so that they will curse the people and people will curse them. They will have no mercy and good acts for the population. So companions asked, categorical question which you have asked today, that Ya Rasulullah, if that times come and we see the Muslim rulers in this condition not enforcing properly the Islam and not doing good acts, so are we not, at that time the Muslim would not be allowed to take arms and to fight against them? Holy Prophet ﷺ said, no, you would not be allowed. You can hate them, you can correct them through all other means, but taking up arm against the government, even it is not practicing properly, is not allowed. Because this will amount to an anarchy. Islam has given the ways. Amr bil Maruf, Nahi anil Munkar. You can perform your own political party. You can declare your own manifesto. You can participate in the elections. You can go in the peaceful rallies. You can do protests against them. You can go your membership in the parliament. You can go to the court. All possible peaceful, constitutional, democratic ways and means are open for the Muslim world, like the other non-Muslim world. You should adopt, but only single thing is not allowed, to take up the arms and start fighting against your rulers, because this is terrorism, and this is the Kharijite way. Kharijite terrorists use the same slogan. They say, we want complete implementation of Islam. Same thing. And that's why we are killing the people. The same mentality is working now. So only this particular thing is banned. All other peaceful, democratic, constitutional ways are open for people. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is in Bukhari and Muslim Hadith.
We have 5 more minutes, and we'll entertain one question here and one at the back.
Shaykh al-Islam, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Majid Nawaz, co-director of Quilliam Foundation.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful to hear what you've said, and I look forward to reading the book. My question is that in Pakistan...
It is coming in Arabic also.
Thank
you.
Inshallah. Many people here in the UK, in our work, they ask us why more ulama have not come out and spoken as clearly as you have. And I was hoping that you can inform the audience of some of the attempts, because they need to know that people have tried. And in particular, I'm referring to Dr. Safraz Naimi. If you could just inform the people here what he tried to do and what happened to him, so they understand how difficult it is to do what you're doing. And I again thank you and commend your efforts.
Thank you very much. The people have been doing, there are scholars who have been condemning. But one of my friends, Dr. Sarfaraz Naimi from Lahore, nobody issued a written document or a fatwa like that, although just he gave a verbal fatwa on TV. And a few days later he was killed, murdered. So many other people of this kind who have been giving their fatwas, they were no more in this world. So the only single reason which I can understand, I would appreciate, is the people don't find courage under the circumstances. You know, the presidents are not saved. In Pakistan particularly, the governments are not saved. For the last 20 years, hundreds of the ulama have been killed. Though they are so much powerful here. So the people here, and their access is everywhere. They can reach everywhere. There's no problem for them. So the problem is that I think they feel a little bit scared to declare in a publicly. And secondly, one thing, this view has been given. There was no doubt about that. But there was a need of very comprehensive document of fatwa, which can be a historical document, which could cover every single major and minor aspect of this subject in the book, so that people may read it and find all Quranic evidences and Hadithic evidences and references. And if the youth, I'm not talking of those who are already brainwashed, they are senseless people, excluding them maybe a small percentage, but overwhelming majority, thousands of people who have potential to become suicide bombers, who are on the way, but they have not yet arrived at that point. They have become narrow-minded, they have become conservative in their views, they have become extremists, they have become radicals, but they have yet to become suicide bombers. These kind of thousands of people, they need, so that these kind of evidences should come in their mind, in their hands. They could read it, and this will create doubts in their mind. And they will see what we have been taught up till now was a different, and this is a different story, which has been given with evidences. When they will compare it, I hope, inshallah, majority of them and thousands and thousands and thousands of them would repent, and they will come on the right track, and they will leave these terroristic views. The need was to bring a very comprehensive, documented fatwa, a book in the form of a book containing all evidences everywhere. So this was the basic
Thank you. Time for one more brief question, please.
I'm Nabanita from NewsX, and I'm from an Indian channel, and you're from Pakistan. Pakistan is known to be a hotbed of terrorists breeding over there, and we are suffering because of it. But what I wanted to ask you, it was very good of you today to issue this fatwa, but how do you reach, on a practical level, how do you reach out to the hardliners who are already there?
Thank you. It's a good question. Same kind of fatwa launching ceremony is taking place in March. I opted the first launching ceremony in England. We were busy in celebrating Mawlid, and you know, under Minhajul Quran, our organization, there is the largest, the biggest Mawlid celebration of the whole Islamic world on 12th of Rabiul Awwal, which is attended by about 1 million people. And I delivered my speech on video conferencing from here. It takes place in Minar, Pakistan. So people were busy there. They have finished this celebration. Now they have started preparation for launch of the fatwa ceremony, and there are going to be a very big launch ceremony in Pakistan. Verbal fatwa has already been issued, but that was just verbal. Now after printing of this book, they will launch there, and we are going to print it hundreds of thousands. And we try that it will go in hands of every single person who matters in the mosques, in libraries, in universities, in colleges, in schools, and other personnel, those who should read and make up their mind, and the opinion makers. Inshallah, it will go there. And we hope, inshallah, with your help. One thing I should make it clear, although not related to this question, that whatever I have done just for the sake of prayer of my Lord and my Creator. And I have done just and just only for the betterment and the service of my deen Islam, and for the service of humanity and mankind, which I believe in. I have not written this fatwa for prayer of any government or any agencies, because the Minhajul Quran is a movement which has never ever up till today taken any kind of aid or grant in any manner up to the extent of single penny. We are just working on our own behalf. This ceremony has been sponsored by Minhajul Quran itself. But the only help and support which I will request and hope is that all these people, the media people, the concerned, those who are in a position to communicate this message in all parts and corners of the world, through media, if you just follow it up, convey this message to the world, and those thousands and millions of people who are lost, they are misguided, through your efforts, these words and voice goes everywhere. It is published, articles are written, messages communicated, so that they become in need, they feel themselves in need to get this fatwa from anywhere. And let me explain, I never take a single penny as royalty on my books. Being author of 1,000 books, and 400 books have been published, and speaker of 7,000 topics, I in my life has never taken a single penny as an author or speaker on my royalties. I do just service of humanity, for sake of humanity and for prayer of my Lord or my God. I am just serving the mankind, and I request you to join this great cause of for mankind, so that the mankind which is burning in the fire of hatred and fire of extremism and the fire of terrorism and the fire of militancy, and this militancy which is dividing the world of mankind, so that by this effort which we have started, we should reunite the world again, and we should bring again a peace and tranquility and love and brotherhood and tolerance for the whole of mankind, and good messages communicated to East and West, and the people belonging to Islamic faith or belonging to other faiths, they should learn living together, and they should think that the terrorists are the common enemy of the whole mankind, and they don't belong to any religion. This is the only support which I want from you.
Thank you very much. Time is very short. We have to bring proceedings to an end. But before we do so, can I welcome Right Honourable Shahid Malik, Minister at CLG, welcome him to the proceedings and request that he give us a few words to express his views on this issue. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Brothers, sisters, good afternoon. I'm going to be relatively brief. Can I just say that it's an honour and a privilege to be here, and can I pay tribute to you, Dr. Qadri, for the sterling work that you're doing both here and, of course, across the world. And I really do think that you're the kind of individual that ought to be the role model for so many Muslims across the world. After 7/7, we did have some scholars who came together here, 100 or so. They gave a verbal fatwa. It was quite effective. But I think the work that you've done in giving the evidence base is really the solution in the long term. I want to just briefly say that when 7/7 occurred, the lead bomber, Mohammed Sadiq Khan, was one of my constituents in my district when I'm the MP. And it was a shock and a wake-up call for everybody in this country, but especially Muslims, because I don't think anybody could have believed, I certainly didn't before 7/7, that a Muslim who was born and brought up in the UK could commit this kind of act in the name of Islam. And my message is the same to Muslims as it has been since 7/7, that actually Muslims have got nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to apologise for because of 7/7. The last bomber before 7/7 was a chap called David Copeland. He bombed Brixton, Brick Lane, Soho. He killed 3, he maimed and injured over 80. He does not reflect white or Christian opinion any more than these evil 4 young men on the 7th of July represent Islam. And the point you made, that terrorism and religion, there is no linkage. But there is an important point here, that while there's a lot of anger and frustration that people have, Muslims have on international issues perhaps, on domestic issues, whatever it might be, none of it can legitimise violent extremism and terrorism. And the lethal ingredient that divides us from those 4 individuals is that they had a perverted and twisted interpretation of Islam that told them they can kill themselves and kill other innocent people and somehow they would go to heaven. It's our belief, I think, mainstream Islam, and you've powerfully articulated that today, that actually heaven isn't where these people will be going. Martyrs, they aren't. They're sinners, and they're going to be going to a very different place indeed. And just to summarise, I think the work that you do now is going to have benefits for mankind and womankind for decades to come. And I think we've always been of the view, whether it's from a government perspective, whether it's as a Muslim, that the solution to extremism in the name of Islam is true Islam, and the true Islam that you're espousing today and that you've got the evidence base for as well. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you've done, thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for the work that you will do. And inshallah, in the next life as well, may you get just reward for all the work that you do. And to everybody as well, I shouldn't say thank you for coming along, because it's a privilege to be here, but I look forward to working with you and trying to ensure that collectively, that from a government perspective, where we work with you to try to make society safer for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. My last sentence, the feast of peace and love. The whole mankind is hungry. Whole mankind is hungry. Feast is there, and feast is peace and love. But it is hidden and locked up. We have to break the doors, and the feast of peace and love is to be provided to the whole of mankind beyond the barriers. And we have to put the people belonging to all faiths, all dominions, all cultures and all religions together, whether they are Jewish, they are Christians, they are Muslims, or they belong to any other faith. We have to bring them together for that feast of peace and love, so that we may bring this world of hatred back to the world of love, and back to the world of peace, and back to the world of tolerance. This is our collective responsibility which we have to perform.
Thank you. Just to say that the fatwa will be available for download on.
Have you given
online.
this copy to everybody?
So please do distribute it to whoever you know, your friends.
You have the English one,
people.
the summary, but the whole fatwa, although it is in Urdu, but you will receive the English one, English answer afterwards, because the summary is there. But this is a gift for everybody present here today. Please give one copy to everyone so that they may keep it as a record.
I want to ask you just about what you are expecting as an impact in the Muslim world within this fatwa.
I hope the Muslim world, inshallah, if this depends upon the media ways, the television channels and the newspapers and the electronic channels, if they propagate it as much and they arrange some talks on this and they convey it to each and every single individual of the Muslim world, particularly the youth, I hope they will read it and they will get benefit, and this will bring them a light of the real and true meanings of Islam, and this will bring them out of the darkness of their ignorance, and they will be able to understand what we were taught that was wrong. What we have been committing, that is totally wrong. Islam is not a piece of extremism or militancy. Islam is a piece of peace and love for the whole mankind. Holy Prophet was not for only the Muslims. He never stated in Holy Quran that Ya ayyuhan nas inni rasulun ila al-muslimin. He stated Ya ayyuhan nas inni rasulun ilaykum jami'a, and he was made wama arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alamin. So the message of Quran is peace, and message of Holy Prophet is love and mercy and compassion for whole of mankind. So we have to bring the better face of Islam for the whole mankind.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shaykh, can you just give us your name and how you spell it, so that anyone who doesn't know you will get it right?
My name is Dr. Muhammad Tahir Qadri.
Thank you very much. What I wanted to ask is, how do you think you're going to get your message to the minds of young people who may already be on the road to extremism or terrorism?
I would divide them into two categories. A small percentage, that is minor, are those who have already been brainwashed. Excluding them, there are thousands of those young who have potential to become terrorists, and they have not become terrorists yet. They are conservatives, they are extremists, they are radicals, and having the potential or extremistic tendency, they can be used as terrorists in future. So these are you can say, more than 90% youth are on these various stages. This would be extremely helpful and influential to change their minds, because they have not entered practically in that terroristic area. So when they read it, they were confused. They were given this concept of Islam, that suicide bombing and blowing your own self, this is you can say, martyrdom operation, and it will directly lead you to Jannah, to paradise, and this is jihad.
Shaykh, as I was saying, how do you think you're going to get your message to the minds of young militants who may reject what you're saying today?
The young militants, everybody amongst them is not a terrorist. Majority are on their way to become a terrorist. So I think the overwhelming majority, those have tendency to become and potential to become terrorists. When they read it, their concept will be changed, because they were given wrong teachings about martyrdom, about jihad, and this suicide bombing will lead to paradise. When they read it, they will think that this is a forbidden act, this is an act of kufr which may lead to hellfire, and this thing will create a big doubt in their minds, and by reading all these evidences, I think they will be forced intellectually and academically to change their mind.
Previously, other Muslim scholars have issued fatwas against terrorism, especially in the wake of the 7/7 bombings. What makes your fatwa more significant?
The point is that all fatwas which were issued before, they were just verbal fatwas, just based on a few lines, without providing any strong evidence and original arguments from Quran and Sunnah, and addressing in detail all those relevant major and minor issues which are necessary to be addressed in order to satisfy the youngsters. So these things were not present, they were just a single condemnation, and sometimes the condemnations were conditional. So this fatwa, without any conditions and excuses, is a comprehensive condemnation, and it has provided hundreds of evidences of Quran and Sunnah so that they may be able to understand what is right and what is wrong.
When I was in Pakistan last summer, a cleric in Lahore who condemned suicide bombing was himself assassinated by a suicide bomber. Do you think that you're making yourself a target?
Yes, yes.
I am already a target for the last 20 years. I know that nobody would tolerate this thing, but I am working for the mankind, to bring the mankind out of this crisis and to provide them, trying to provide them peace. As far as my life is concerned, I leave the matter to my Lord and Creator, depends upon. I'm not scared of anything.